You know that feeling when your whole life feels stuck? Not stuck in some dramatic falling apart kind of way, just stuck. You've got goals, you've got plans, you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing, and yet somehow you're not doing any of it. You wake up with the best intentions, the day rolls by, and by the time night comes, nothing has changed. The dishes are still sitting in the sink, that email is still unwritten, that project you keep meaning to start hasn't been touched, and you tell yourself, tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow shows up, and it's the exact same day all over again. Here's what's strange about this. It's not that it happens to you, it's that it happens to almost everyone. And it has almost nothing to do with being lazy or weak or lacking willpower or any of the things we love to blame ourselves for. Something else is going on underneath. A quiet pattern that keeps you from ever starting. And once you actually see it, the fix becomes almost laughably simple. In Japan, they figured this out a very long time ago. Not with some complicated system, not with a productivity app or a color-coded planner. With something so small, it almost sounds like a joke the first time you hear it. 2 minutes, that's the whole idea. Not 2 hours, not some huge life commitment, just 2 minutes. And somehow, that tiny thing changes everything. So let's talk about what's really happening when you feel stuck. Most people assume it's a motivation problem. You just need to want it more, right? Get inspired, find your reason. Watch a few pump-up videos on your phone. But that's not it. That's not what's actually going on. The real problem is something psychologists call initiation resistance. Every single time you think about doing a task, your brain quietly runs the numbers. How long is this going to take? How much effort? How much energy do I have right now? And if that math feels even a little too heavy, your brain just quits. Not out loud. You don't sit there and decide, I am choosing not to do this. You just don't feel like it. You'll get to it later, when you have more time, more energy, when you're in the right headspace. But later never really comes, because that resistance doesn't fade while you wait. It grows. The longer you put something off, the heavier it gets in your mind. That one dirty dish turns into a full sink. The inbox swells. The little project morphs into this giant, suffocating thing that feels impossible to even look at. And now, you're not just avoiding the task anymore. You're avoiding the guilt, the shame, that awful feeling of being behind. So you dodge it even harder, and it grows even bigger, and around it goes. That's why your life feels stuck. Not because you can't handle hard things, but because you never start the small things. And small things have this quiet habit of turning into big things the second you let them stack up. Here's what's fascinating. Japanese culture spotted this pattern centuries ago. Not through brain scans or research papers, just through watching, honestly, how human beings actually behave. And the rule they landed on is almost embarrassingly simple. If something takes less than 2 minutes, you do it right now. Not in a minute, not after you finish the thing you're doing. Now. Dirty dish in the sink, wash it, 2 minutes. Email you've been meaning to send it, 2 minutes. Jacket on the floor, hang it up, 2 minutes. And I know, it sounds way too simple to actually matter. But that's exactly the point. Because the task was never the real problem, the decision was. When you glance at that dirty dish and think, I'll do it later, you just created something that wasn't there a second ago. A decision you now have to make. A new item on your mental list. A little pulse of stress every single time you walk past that sink. But when you see the dish and just wash it, there's no decision, no debate, no stress piling up in the background. It's just done, gone. And here's where it gets really interesting. The 2-minute rule works because of how your mind actually functions, not how we wish it worked. First, it kills what researchers call decision fatigue. Every tiny choice, every should I do this now or later, drains a little fuel from your tank. You make dozens of these a day, and each one quietly costs you. But when you have one clear rule, 2 minutes or less means do it now. That whole debate just vanishes. Your brain doesn't have to weigh anything, it just moves. And all that mental energy you saved, it goes toward things that actually matter. Second, it stops the pile-up before it ever begins. One dirty dish is nothing. 10 dirty dishes feels like a chore. One email is easy. 50 unread emails is paralyzing. The rule catches things while they're still tiny, before they turn into problems, before they start weighing on you. And third, and honestly this might be the biggest one, it builds momentum. Action creates more action. Not through willpower, through something closer to physics. An object in motion stays in motion. You wash one dish, then the next. Then you wipe the counter, then you take out the trash. You never planned to clean the whole kitchen. But you did, because once you were moving, keeping going felt easier than stopping. Movement creates motivation, not the other way around. We've had it backwards this whole time. We think we need to feel motivated before we act. But acting is what creates the motivation. And the 2-minute rule makes starting so easy that you skip right past the whole motivation trap. And this isn't some hack somebody made up last year to sell a course. It goes deeper than that. In Japanese thinking, there's an idea called Kaizen, continuous improvement through tiny, steady steps. Not massive overnight transformations, just small daily improvements. So small they're almost invisible in the moment. But over time, they stack, they compound, they turn into something huge. Japanese companies used this exact idea to take over entire industries. Toyota didn't become one of the biggest car makers on earth by flipping everything upside down overnight. They did it by asking every single day, what one small thing can we make better? A step that could be a second faster, a tool moved 2 inches closer, a wasted motion cut out completely. On their own, those changes meant almost nothing. Together, over years, they became unstoppable. And the same thing works for your life. You're not trying to fix everything at once. You're just handling the next small thing right in front of you. That dish, that email, that piece of trash on the floor. Handle it. And watch what starts to build. Let me walk you through what actually happens when you start doing this. Day 1, you wash a dish right away instead of letting it sit. It feels a little weird. You're so used to leaving things. Day 2, you answer an email the moment it comes in. You hang your jacket up the second you take it off. You toss the trash the instant you see it. Still feels a bit forced, like you're trying too hard. Day 3, something shifts. You notice your place is cleaner. Not because you cleaned it, because nothing ever piled up. Day 4, your head feels quieter. Fewer things nagging at you. Fewer, I really need to do that thoughts humming in the background. Day 5, you start a 2-minute task and just keep going. You didn't plan to. You just had momentum. Day 6, someone asks how you stay so on top of everything. And honestly, you're not even sure. You're just handling things as they come. Day 7, it hits you. Your life doesn't feel stuck anymore. Not because you pulled off some huge transformation, but because you stopped letting little things grow into big walls of resistance. Nothing around you changed overnight, but it's moving now. And movement, it turns out, is everything. Now there are a few ways people get this wrong, and they're worth talking about. The first mistake is trying to do it all at once. Someone hears about the 2-minute rule and thinks, perfect, I'm going to knock out every tiny task in my entire life right now. And they burn out in about 2 days. That's not how it works. You use the rule when something shows up naturally. You see the dish, you wash it. You don't go hunting for chores. The second mistake is using it to dodge the real work. If you're supposed to be writing a report, don't suddenly start tidying your desk because, hey, it only takes 2 minutes. That's not being productive. That's just procrastination wearing a disguise. The rule is for handling small things as they pop up in your day, not for running away from the big thing you're avoiding. And the third mistake is letting 2 minutes stretch into 20. Someone decides to quickly organize one little drawer. 20 minutes later, they're still in there. That's a completely different task now. If it's going to take more than 2 minutes, stop. Put it on the calendar for later. The whole power of this rule lives in its speed. Keep it fast. Here's the thing about being stuck. It's almost never about the big stuff. It's the pile-up of small stuff. The tiny tasks you keep pushing off. the little decisions you keep deferring. All that friction stacking up until moving forward feels impossible. The 2-minute rule doesn't solve your big problems. It stops them from ever becoming big in the first place. Your life doesn't feel stuck because you can't do hard things. It feels stuck because you're carrying around 100 tiny, unfinished things, and every one of them puts a little drag on you. When you handle things right away, while they're still small, everything shifts. Your space stays clear, your mind stays clear. And when something that genuinely matters finally shows up, you actually have room for it. You're not clawing through a mountain of built-up resistance just to begin. You're already moving. And that, right there, is the real difference between the people who seem to get things done so easily and the people who feel permanently stuck. It's not talent. It's not iron discipline. It's not some superhuman work ethic. It's just not letting small things become big things. Your life probably isn't stuck because you can't do the hard stuff. It's stuck because you're skipping the easy stuff. The dishes, the emails, the tiny tasks you keep pushing to later. They add up. They create resistance. And resistance kills momentum faster than anything. But the moment you start handling things while they're still small and simple, everything changes. You don't need a perfect system. You don't need another app. You don't need to blow up your whole life and start over. You just need one simple rule. If it takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. That's it. So, try it today. Right after this video ends. Find one thing that takes 2 minutes and just do it. Don't think about it. Don't plan it. Don't add it to a list. Just handle it. And then tomorrow, do it again. And watch what happens when you stop letting the small stuff pile up. Because the problem was never that you couldn't move forward. The problem was that you never started. And now you know how to start. If something clicked for you here, I'd really appreciate a subscribe. This is what I do. Break down simple shifts that end up changing more than you'd ever expect. So let me ask you, what's the 1 2-minute task you've been putting off?